Hello, everybody. So today we're going to be talking about the distributed database, and want to know the difference between the centralized database and the distributed database. So, of course, we are focusing on the decentralized database. But before we go deeply into the decentralized database, we'll learn about the distributed database also, just to know the difference. So, what's a distributed database? The distributed database is a collection of independent databases on non-network computers. So it's like a type of database where information is not stored in a single centralized location, but rather distributed across multiple nodes or computers within a network. So um, the decentralized database is having just like a for example, maybe a business that has several branches and each of them have their own database, and they are not they are not dependent on from a single source. So each the enterprise can have several servers for each branches. That's just an example of what a decentralized database is. And so they don't use a network. They don't necessarily use a network of computers. The servers are like computers, and they are they are different databases using the branches. And so what then is the distributed database? The distributed database is a single local database that's spread, physically. So it's a physical one across computers in multiple locations that are connected by data communications link. So there is a connection between all the locations. There's a each of the computers need um, they don't they don't use an independent database. They use a single database across all the computers in multiple locations. So it requires a network, unlike the decentralized. So that's just the difference between the centralized and decentralized. And from the definition I have here, it's well explained here. It means concentration of power or process in the hands of a few, and this I think this really explains it. So what then is the um, reason for having a distributed database? Like I explained before, an enterprise can have several databases in their branch, and one of the advantage is that for security reasons, they don't have to always have to go to where the source of where all the files are. If each branch has its own database, it's more secure. That means they're only limited to the information in their particular branch, and for security reasons that it really makes sense for them to have it like that. So we can say for security means it's good, and one of the reasons for having a decentralized database is to aid speed. They wouldn't, since they are not accessing a mega database, a huge database, the central one. They wouldn't have to they will have only a limited information, and that would be less speed when they are trying to access that information. So it will take it will load faster. The database will load, then the accessing the server will be much faster in a decentralized database. So for speed, for security reasons, it's advisable. And one of the good things is that it's flexible, so each unit can customize their database. So it's so much flexible whenever businesses are using a decentralized database. So for all several other reasons, you could see that for several other reasons. So this is just an example here. So a single database located at one site on a single. So this is a centralized database on the left and a distributed database on the right. So from the left one, you can see that it is using a single database file, and that single database file is feeding four computers. So that is one thing about central. So one of the advantage of using the centralized database is that you can have access to all the database, yeah, to all the information. You can have access to it, and another information is that wouldn't have to be dealing with replication of data. Unlike the decentralized database, there's a likelihood of you having replication of data. So imagine if you have different branches, and each of those branches, they do have they have to set up their data for, let's say, for their employees, for their products. There's a likelihood of there to be replication of data, and so when it gets to a point whereby they have to merge and probably become, maybe they want to not necessarily merge it, but they want to upload to the main server, they might be facing issue of replication. Why? Because they are acting independently, so we can see that as a disadvantage. So from the left here, we're seeing that the one advantage here is that since there is only one database file, it is easier to get a complete view. So for what, like I said, it gives you access to all the files, and it is easier to manage, update, and back up the data. Unlike the decentralized, whereby they are scattered, they are not really scattered, but they are all over. So it's quite difficult to back up them at the same time. You'd have to do it one after the other, and yes. So the disadvantage of centralized database is bottlenecking from multiple users. You know, the fact that multiple users can access it for security reasons, it isn't advisable, and also for productivity reasons, it's going to be slow because there'll be traffic there, and it would, for obvious reasons, it is heavier than the decentralized database. So, with that all explained, I think that gives you a good knowledge of what a decentralized database is and a centralized database. So, if you have any comments or a question, you can leave it in the comment section. I would do justice to answer it. So for now, this is where we're going to be stopping the session for today. See you soon.
You champ, you champ. Nice one.
Sure. See you soon. Sure, I hope I recorded it well. And then letting build the recording software. Death, where is your sting? God, as my sin.